What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some acid-trance, and we're going to listen to an all-time classic from 1996 on the epic and legendary acid-trance slash hard-trance label Noom Records from Germany, and we're going to listen to a tune by Nuclear Hyde, which I believe is fundamentally, or has been fundamentally, the project of Marc Steinmeier, but I think there's some other people who have produced records under that name, or at least some of the releases from Nuclear Hyde involve not just Marc himself, but he is sort of the linchpin or the brainchild of the Nuclear Hyde name. And yes, we're going to listen to the Accelerator, or no, the Challenger EP, or is it just Challenge? Yeah, it's just Challenge EP. I'll get it right yet. But yes, there was a number of Nuclear Hyde releases of great significance in the early run of the Noom label, and this is maybe the most significant one, meaning I've seen tracks from this one on a number of different compilations, heard them used in mixtapes. I have myself used all three tunes in different mixes I've done over the years, so it's one of those 3-track releases where all 3 tracks on the vinyl are top-notch, top-shelf. Now it's funny, I did a reaction to Tessoc's Go Ahead London in this same batch, and I mentioned the Sound of Acid Core double CD series, of which the first 3 in particular were very prominent for me, maybe even the first 2 most significantly. But yes, the very first track on disc 1 of the first volume of Sound of Acid Core is by Nuclear Hyde. It's Running Man, and that is on this release, and I love it. I haven't reacted to it yet. I will do it soon. But when I pulled this record out, the track that I was thinking of reacting to, and which I still will, is Axis, which Running Man, I would say, I talked about this in the Tessoc's reaction. In 90s acid music, a lot of tunes were on this spectrum or scale between acid techno and acid trance, and there was a lot of in-between tunes, or there were a lot of in-between tunes. And I would say Running Man is maybe right smack dab in the middle. There's a bit of an acid techno vibe to it, even if I think fundamentally it's acid trance. Axis, I think, is more clearly down the acid trance end of the spectrum because there's a bit more melody, a bit more acid atmosphere. And fair to say, Noom is known for being a trance label, acid trance and hard trance in particular. So yes, we'll listen to Axis first, but I will come back into a reaction to Running Man in the not too distant future. But with no further ado, this is from Marc Steinmeier as Nuclear Hyde, Axis from the Challenge EP, 1996 on Noom Records. might have been wondering, where's the acid? Here's the acid. Lush melodic breakdown, but you know those hard synths are coming back. And you know it. Note with the beginning it had and the ending here, it's the kind of tune that you can use at the beginning or end of a set. It's one of those tracks that doesn't just start, or doesn't start just with a kick and a hat, or end with just a kick and a hat. So in a trance set, I think it's more vital to have an opening that has a bit of majesty or a bit of ambiance to it, and presumably ending a set that way. Whereas techno, you can get away with a track that just starts right away with a kick drum and a hi-hat and a clap. So yeah, it's the kind of tune that works either at the beginning or the end or the middle of a set, so there's maximum utility to it from a DJ point of view. And yeah, I like the way it builds. There's a lot of not only that like main hard synth sound, which is I think very reflective of a lot of Noom records. I'm thinking of Trey Chic or Time Chic from is it Nexus 6? I think yeah, it's Nexus 6. It's the same guys who were Mandala, fair to say. Which is to say Ray Boy and Commander Tom or Tom Weyer. But yeah, there's a lot of that like hard synth sound in mid-90s hard trance, which again, this is very much, this is 96 on Noom, one of the like classic purveyors of that sound. But I like how there's a lot of that, as well as these mechanized, almost robotic sounds that are sort of chirping up and down, two different layers of it. It reminds me of something that a futuristic mechanical species might use to communicate. If you know Star Control 2, maybe something like the Murnaherm or the Chenjesu would use to communicate. But it also eventually brings in a torrent of acid that you have to wait a bit for. A lot of acid trance, it's like this rhythmic acid snarl, or maybe a big flourish, or maybe it's, most of the track are acid sounds. This one, it's like hard trance for the first couple minutes, and then eventually it brings in a wicked torrent of acid that builds very quickly, and then admittedly sort of recedes away, and it goes back to the hard synth. And I do especially love that little, like, light bubble popping type of sound, or maybe like a electric like stretching sound that comes at the break multiple times. It just has this very clever little sound to it, and it's something you don't forget when you hear this track. So yeah, it's a really cool tune. I think for a lot of people it might be the best tune on this record. Again, all three tracks are great. You can see my Discogs review. I remember this is one of the Discogs reviews where a lot of people keyed in on it. It got a lot of likes and I think a few replies and people saying, man, like, you took the words out of my mouth. This is exactly the kind of thing that I would say about this record. So I do think this is a record that stands out to people over the years. As I mentioned, I am very looking forward to reacting to Running Man, not just because I enjoy the Arnie movie and the Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King novel upon which it's based, though call me crazy, I actually think the movie's better. In any case, the point is, the track, as I said, has it's a bit acid techno, even as it is acid trance at the same time, sort of vibe to it, so I'll look forward to that. Let me know what you think of Axis, and I will see you next time. Peace.